So they spammed her. They demanded that she retract preemptively this paper. They went to the FTC and said that they were issuing false statements. The FTC declined. For once, government said, this is not really, guys, we're not supposed to get involved with this. This isn't our business. We don't have any authority here. Then PCRM, can you believe this? The gall of these people went to the district attorney and actually said, you need to investigate reckless endangerment of the public health because they're publishing this study that says it's safe to eat meat. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I've spoken at length before about the war on food, the attempt to strip from humanity our innate act of cultivating land and of growing nutritive food for our families, and to supplant this with the fake food, the fake lab-grown meat, this transhumanist vision of man separate from his environment, completely cut off from nature. And I've certainly highlighted the CEO of Impossible Foods, the guy who's making fake meat that's being sold at Burger King and everywhere now, very, very popular, if you believe the news. His open, outright desire and mission, stated mission statement to end animal agriculture in the next 15 years here. That's literally his mission. Well, how is he going to accomplish that? Certainly not with the free market. No one would choose his crappy products over real, healthy meat. So, in fact, he will have to do so, like most of these folks, by any means necessary. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we have a window into that dirty underbelly of the forces that are at work to do this. And you might be surprised to find out that the ag science, the food science, is just as wrought with corruption as the climate, the global warming science. So I want to read here from Ag Daily in an article. Texas A&M's chancellor actually calls the head of Harvard and says, you need to figure out what your professors are doing over there because this is ridiculous corruption. I'll read from the article before I comment any further. There's no question that the consumption of red meat, from its healthfulness in humans to the impact on the environment to the care of the livestock themselves, is one of the hottest topics discussed in mainstream media and on social media platforms. And there are countless numbers of individuals weighing in on all sides of the debate, some more reputable than others. One organization in that discussion is the True Health Initiative, or THI. It claims to fight fake facts and combat false doubts to create a world free of preventable diseases. Sounds nice. THI's actions, though, have raised red flags recently and have drawn the ire of A&M's John Sharp, who sent a letter to Harvard University president over the ethics of how two Harvard professors were conducting themselves. Last fall, the Annals of Internal Medicine was set to publish several studies showing that the evidence linking red meat consumption with cardiovascular disease and cancer is in fact too weak to recommend that adults eat less of it. THI and Harvard faculty Willett, Dr. Willett, remember that name, as well as Dr. Who, then spearheaded a campaign against the editor-in-chief of the Annals of Internal Medicine. They flooded her inbox with more than 2,000 caustic messages using using bots. They spammed the crap out of this lady, and they pressured her to retract the scientific studies from planned publication. THI's website depicts multiple headlines that are critical of any evidence whatsoever supporting the consumption of red meat. They call it controversial, questionable, bizarre, or, and here's the key, industry funded. Boy, that sounds a lot like all of the climate smear tactics that they use on that side of the fence, but let's continue. Many of these posts are the kind of straw man arguments that also get thrown around a lot on Facebook. Yeah, it's called Rules for Radicals, and that's how they operate. It is rare for two major academic institutions to come into open conflict like this, Texas A&M and Harvard, but especially over an agricultural issue. And I am from Texas, so I have to say I'm naturally more prone to side with A&M here, but nonetheless, they appear to be on the side of truth. From the chancellor of A&M to the head of Harvard, I write to inform you of my dismay with your professors. Their actions are unethical, they distort the results of important scientific research, and they are false and harmful to A&M and our faculty. They also undermine the values espoused by your institution, Harvard, and we need to be corrected. So what actually did they do? Oh, besides putting up this picture, which obviously associates very clearly Texas A&M with big beef in this disinformation triangle. So I'll finish a little bit more from his letter. A&M asks Harvard to join us in taking a purely scientific approach to nutrition for the sake of public health and trust, and rejects the politics and the unethical actions of THI that have sought to discredit science and interfere in the scientific process. Stop messing around, is what they're saying. But it wasn't just this triangle. What did they actually do that inspired this letter? Well, from this piece from the JAMA directly, backlash over meat dietary recommendations raises questions about corporate ties to nutrition scientists. We read directly from the editor-in-chief, Christine Lane, of the Annals of Internal Medicine, who had her inbox flooded with 2,000 spam messages, highly caustic. In fact, she said, look, we've published a lot also on firearm injuries, and we usually get a response from the NRA, but it's definitely less vitriolic than these letters from the True Health Initiative. This was a nonprofit founded by Dr. Katz, and Dr. Willett still serves on that council, as well as Dr. Hu. Katz is from Yale, Willett and Hu are from Harvard. They, the three, took the rare step of contacting the editor-in-chief directly prior to the publication of these new studies. She then surmised, perhaps that's not surprising, some of those researchers have built their careers on nutrition epidemiology. I can perhaps understand it's upsetting when the limitations of your work are uncovered and are discussed in the open. But that's not it. It's not just their ego. They actually are linked with the fake meat movement. And so they have a vested interest in pushing people away from beef, which is why they came in to prevent this paper from being published. Subsequent news coverage has criticized their methodology and raised the specter that maybe they had financial ties to the beef industry. Again, the most common smear tag. I can't count the number of times I've been told you're getting paid by big oil. Still waiting on my check from ExxonMobil. But what has for the most part been overlooked, JAMA's piece continues, is the fact that Katz and THI and many of its council members have numerous industry ties themselves, ties primarily with companies and organizations that stand to profit if people eat less red meat and switch to plant-based diets. Unlike the beef industry, these entities are surrounded by an aura of health and wellness, although that's not based on evidence whatsoever. It's just their brand, their marketing nonsense. So specifically in this study that was pounced on before it was published, they looked into the data and said that these associations that are being drawn between heart disease and beef are spurious. There's not enough data there to actually make these conclusions. They even they sort of couched their conclusion there by saying maybe there are other reasons, like maybe the environment or animal rights. Maybe for those reasons you could say don't eat beef, but as far as nutrition, the science just isn't there. This is just it's just a crock. So that was when Dr. Katz and his THI organization went into action. Somebody put out the call, and these guys went into full-blown overboard. They spun up a bot that sent 2,000 emails to the editor-in-chief, as we read. But that's just the first thing. That's just an annoyance. They also went on to, by the way, it's worth saying, again, they broke the embargo on the paper. It hadn't been published yet, and so you're not allowed to talk about it. But somebody leaked that paper to Dr. Katz and fired up this engine of disinformation. So here we go. Beyond sending 2,000 spam emails to this poor woman, Dr. Katz and other members also sent her a letter asking her to preemptively retract publication of these papers until you review it further. This other board, called the PCRM, Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, which we read lower, only has 10% membership are doctors. So that's a misnomer. It's a joke. This whole thing is a joke. But they went on to say, here we go. The PCRM went so far as to petition the Federal Trade Commission to correct the false statements regarding consumption of red and processed meat released by the Annals of Internal Medicine. So they spammed her. They demanded that she retract preemptively this paper. They went to the FTC and said that they were issuing false statements. The FTC declined. For once, government said, this is not really, guys, we're not supposed to get involved with this. This isn't our business. We don't have any authority here. And so they went on, they continued. Dr. Katz went out and said, this is a bunch of information terrorism. This is a huge debacle of public health, and it's going to blow the life's work of innumerable careful scientists to smithereens. Basically a bunch of ad hominem attacks and straw man arguments. Then PCRM, can you believe this? The gall of these people went to the district attorney and actually said, you need to investigate reckless endangerment of the public health, because they're publishing this study that says it's safe to eat meat. I will pause to let that sink in because I need to, because I can't get over how that's just outright insane. They're going to call the police if you publish this paper. This is pure bullying. This is not science. This is information terrorism. That's the rules for radical. Accuse your enemies of doing what you're doing. Yeah, this is information terrorism. It's a total hit job, according to Stephen Novella, MD, founder and executive director of Science-Based Medicine website and a longtime critic, apparently, of Dr. Katz. This isn't his first round on the shenanigans train. Quote, they have a certain number of go-to strategies, and they try to dismiss any findings they don't like. One strategy is this accusations of tenuous conflicts of interest. So let's step back and take a look at THI. Let's give them a dose of their own medicine. Dr. Katz, over here, working for Yale, is the founder and director of THI, and he claims that he wants to change what we know about medicine into what we can do about it. So ideas to action is his whole thing. He's an activist on behalf of fake meat, getting rid of meat. He's working right there with the Impossible Foods CEO. And you can see, if you go through the True Health Initiative, over here on their partners, why is this so huge? On their partners page, you've got hashtag no beef, you've got plant-based health professionals, you've got the open source wellness, and other plant-based food producers. Some of these people are on the projects at Harvard where they're actively researching how to produce fake meat. The lab-grown meat is populated by the same people that are faculty that are on the THI. They're actively working on these projects. Yale is also involved, which is Dr. Katz's school, is also associated with some of these fake meat endeavors. And, it's just worth reminding ourselves that Harvard is also spending its endowment buying up every piece of agricultural land it can and the water rights in California right now. These are the same people that are destroying the current food system so that they can replace it with as I've said, with their fake meat, with their transhumanist future. And that's not all they're doing. They're also attacking agriculture through the geoengineering that they're actively working on. I've done reports on David Keith and their solar geoengineering program at Harvard, funded not just by Harvard's huge endowment, but also by the Open Philanthropy Project, who I mentioned just moments ago. This is Soros linked, and by Bill Gates. Bill Gates, who is creating the GMO cow so that once we get rid of your animals, well, we can bring in the insiders' animals, the GMO animals. Those ones are surely going to get you sick. But at least they'll make Bill Gates and the establishment even richer. They'll tighten the control over the population when you have to buy Bill Gates milk. And like I said, Open Philanthropy Project is a Soros-linked nonprofit activism organization. Among other things that they fund, they are very serious about farm animal welfare. At least that's what they call it. What that means actually is pushing activists towards ranches and trying to shut them down. The other things that Open Philanthropy Project is involved in is the ACLU, MoveOn.org, which is trying to get climate deniers kicked off of Facebook and YouTube. They're trying to get rid of channels like this one. Now you know why. Because we're ringing the bell. We're showing what they're actually up to. This is a full-on totalitarian takeover. And these people are working together to destroy the food system that is existing, to create the new fake one that will ensure they have total control over us. And they're putting out fake science to justify the climate agenda and to get rid of real meat. And if this is news to you that there is deep state CIA involvement in academia, then I would remind you to check out this book, Weaponizing Anthropology, by David Price, who does a fantastic job looking at the CIA's connections deep into academia. I met this guy at City Lights in San Francisco. It was a great talk he gave that night. It's a great book. But yeah, the CIA, the deep state, whatever you want to call them, is deeply entrenched in academia and is absolutely controlling those endowments. You better believe it. That's why they're investing. They're buying up the farms. They're taking control of our food supply. Folks, I hope that's a bit of an eye-opener for you, but it's something we need to explore when we get these glimpses into the practices that these people are actually using when they see real, legitimate science coming out and saying, it looks like it's actually fine to eat real, regeneratively grazing, nice, not factory farmed meat perhaps, but real, healthily grown pastured beef. It's actually good for you. Go figure. But we can't have that get out. That doesn't help the climate agenda. That doesn't help the food takeover. You see, these are all one agenda. The geoengineering, all of these things are one evil group of people. And it is one totalitarian agenda that has been talked about for hundreds of years. And you need to be preparing, because right now they're in control and they are driving the existing systems into the ground. And it is up to you and to me to spread the word and to enlist other people in efforts to, part 2, stand up new systems that actually empower people, that are distributed systems that grow in regenerative ways our food, and take these people out of the line of control. We need to take control back. With that in mind, I wanted to mention this book. Rabbits are, I'm working on my rabbit production right now, and it's one of the few ways to grow protein that you can even swing in a small amount of area. Maybe even in an urban setting, you could be able to raise rabbits. You've seen my channel grow from when I was trying to do this with spirulina in a tank, which is a algae, to other approaches, microgreens. There's just not something that you can do at scale that gets proteins and fats. But rabbits are interesting in that regard. And this book, Beyond the Pellet, is a great introduction to how you can actually feed rabbits on a diet that you can grow yourself, right? So taking it again, keep pushing that frontier of food production forward. If you're going to eat rabbits, what's going to feed your rabbits? Now we got to grow that too. And this does a great job at, for one, looking at who's making these pellets and how that's the same deeply entrenched big ag companies that we hate for poisoning our food supply. So why would we feed that food to our rabbits? So that's nice to read. But then secondly, and more importantly, he goes into a breakdown of how rabbits' digestive systems work and what that means we can and can't feed them, and how you can slowly transition their diet off of those pellets onto something that you can grow, which puts you in total control over your food production. And that's the direction. This is the overarching message here, is that's the direction we all need to be moving rapidly right now. And spread the word. Folks, thanks for watching. Please spread the word about this absolute hoax within the food, nutrition, science industry. It's just like the climate fraud that's going on right now. You can find my work directly, iceagefarmer.com, because it's surely going to disappear from YouTube any day now. And please support my work also on patreon.com/iceagefarmer. Thanks for watching. Best of luck with your food growing and your preparations. Let me know what's working for you. I'd love to hear from you. Genuinely, I'd love to hear from you. Send me a note, iceagefarmer@protonmail.com. Be well, folks.